Hey there, I'm Jill Allen, and this is Find Your Fierce, the show designed for women to discover your fierce, unlock an unstoppable mindset, build unbreakable courage, and completely transform how you show up every single day. Each week, I will bring ideas, methods, and strategies that will inspire you to step into your greatness and live life on purpose. Let's be fit, fierce, and unstoppable. Hey there, gang. Welcome to Find Your Fierce. I'm Jill Allen, and I'm so excited that you're here with me as we dive into another amazing episode. Episode 174, showing up each week to bring a little fire to your day. And it is such a good one, and one that we all need. And we're going to talk about what to do when there's no end in sight. And it's funny because here I am. I'm recording. It's actually May 4th on the day that I'm recording. It's about 10 o'clock in the morning, and we have a yard sale tomorrow to get ready for the mission trip. It's just a fundraiser for us to be able to help our mission team get out there and serve this June. And it's 10 o'clock and there is nothing priced. There is nothing brought up from the basement, from the pile that we have. And we have baseball games tonight. And so I really don't know how it's going to get done. And it's funny that I'm actually going to just sit down and talk about this subject or this topic, because we're talking about when there's no end in sight, right? When you feel overwhelmed. And anyway, I just thought that was kind of funny and how calm I am. And I know that it's all going to get done and it's all going to work out and it's going to be just fine. But I tell you what, would have put that on my plate 5 years ago, there is no way. I would have been a hot mess and extremely overwhelmed, but I'm not. And so that's kind of funny because I'm going to share with you some of the things that I've learned to help you when you feel like there is no end in sight. And with overwhelm, guys, whether it's in your personal life or in your professional life, when you get to a point where you think it will never get better, that nothing gives, or when you feel like there is no end in sight, where you can't catch a break, when, asking yourself, when is the bad ever going to stop? It can truly derail your confidence, drown you in self-doubt, and leave you flailing for hope and purpose. And in this episode, what's going to happen is you're going to learn what to do when there's no end in sight. And I have some good techniques I'm going to share with you, and how to stay filled with faith, how to have peace in your confidence, and how to think the right thoughts that will fill you with power and perseverance. So all the things, and let's kind of put it into one word if we can, and it's overwhelm, right? So we're going to talk about what to do when you feel burdened by it, how to have hope when there feels like there's no ending, how to fight for hope, and the belief thoughts and the self-talk that is going to help you realize or actually neutralize overwhelm. And what overwhelm does is kind of like this snowball effect that it keeps building, yet it's something that we can stop. Okay, so that's good news, right? It's something that we can stop. And it's going to be so good. And I can't wait to dive into this. And I know that these next few minutes are so needed. But before we go any further, I have to let you know that I just love that you're here listening in and spending time with me. So honored that I get to be a part of your day. You guys are all so amazing, and I thank you for your love and support. And if you have not left a review yet, I would love it if you did. I so appreciate your feedback, and I love that you shared this podcast and the Set Fire message with your friends and family. And with Set Fire, guys, if you've not heard, my new book, Set Fire, is out, and you can get a copy on Amazon. It's just so good, especially if you want to fire up your life and ignite a spark of courage in you so that you can live your life on purpose. So thanks again for being here. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. Are you ready? I know I am. So let's dive in. Let's talk about overwhelm and what to do when burdened by it. First of all, know that overwhelm is a feeling. And oftentimes we believe it's a situation, right? Or think of it as a circumstance. Like this is overwhelming, or work is overwhelming, or that is overwhelming, life is overwhelming. And we're putting these adjectives to situations as if they're like this complete or absolute fact. But let me propose this to you. That is just a thought, is just an interpretation. Now, overwhelm is a feeling. I feel overwhelmed, right? Our thoughts are what drives our feelings. Every feeling I have ever felt comes from an initial thought. So if I ever think it's too much to handle, then I feel overwhelmed. I'm not thinking overwhelming thoughts, right? I feel overwhelmed. Like this is what you're really feeling. This is, what you think your truth is right now. Let me remind you, all our feelings are driven by our thoughts. and they're based on our thoughts, right? I want to give you an example, whether it's my kids or my husband, right? If they leave their socks on the ground or a dish in the sink, or they drop their dirty clothes on the floor in the laundry room, or they throw their shoes off in the mudroom when they're walking in the door and they're just laying all over the place, or, crumbs on the counter after they fix their toast somehow on every single counter. I can walk through the house like, ugh, oh my gosh, come on. Am I the only one that cleans up around here? And I am so good at starting that narrative. So I can start finding and I can start looking at all the things that are off or all the things that are wrong. So when they walk into the room and I'm feeling irritated, here's the thing. I can blame it on the socks or the peanut butter knife in the sink, but I'm irritated because of the thoughts I had about all those things. My thoughts created a feeling of irritation. It created a feeling of resentment or disconnection or entitlement against them, right? In the same way, I can look at the socks or the clothes on the floor as, oh my gosh, I am so thankful they took their shoes off before, traipsing through the house after a long day, or thankful they brought their clothes down, or thankful that their rooms are clean, or I'm happy that they took the trash out. They must have just forgot to put a new trash bag in, right? And now all of a sudden my thoughts and feelings have changed toward my family. It's the same situation. It's just a different thought. It's a different feeling. And I hope that kind of expresses that, or I shared that, or that conveys this message, or that it's a good example of how our thoughts drive our feelings. So overwhelm is a feeling. It is a feeling we choose, and it is brought on about our thoughts. I used to think all the time, oh my gosh, I'm so overwhelmed. I just can't help it, right? There's too much to do. I'm too far behind. I can't keep up. Those thoughts perpetuates, that's what drives this overwhelm. Or I would even say, I can't see an end in sight. But here's another point of consideration, right? Do you really need to see an end in sight to know that there's an end? Because all things end. Everything has a season. There's an end in each season that we go through, even if we can't see it coming. I feel, here it is again, May 4th, and I think the sun came out for the first time in 2 weeks, and the temperature might get above 45 today. And I'm thinking, is winter ever going to end? And I can't see it at this point. But I know that the season is going to end, even though I don't know when, and I can't see it at this point. But things end, seasons end. Even if we can't see it coming, there is an end coming. And we need to talk back to our brain, right? We need to be able to self-coach. We have this opportunity to actually have a conversation with our brain. We don't need to see the end to know that it's there. And yeah, I get it. I know there's an end, but when my mind plays this game and it tells me that I need proof, that I seriously have to dial it in and focus, and I have to reframe it as this invitation to expand my faith and my ability to, callous and numb my mind to bounce back from this future moment and to stay right here in the right now in this present moment, if that makes sense, right? Being overwhelmed feels like being flooded, right? It's an overload on the nervous system and brain by looking or taking in more than we can process, creating exhaustion or this mental fatigue and the helplessness. It's like giving ourselves a handicap in our mental and emotional energy. So I'm kind of sitting here thinking, why are we even doing that? Why are we entertaining this? Looking at all the things with this limited and a small perspective, or if we look at it from a place of exhaustion and hopelessness. So what's interesting, when we feel overwhelmed, and I want you guys to notice this, it happens because we are going without listening to ourselves. We're not friends necessarily to ourselves in that moment. Either we're not slowing down, or we're not asking for help, or we're not creating better habits or boundaries, things that we all should be doing. And so we miss these signals that our body and our schedule, it's telling us hey girl, you've had enough. So I'm telling you, if I can encourage anything today, we have to be able to slow down. We have to be able to ask for help, and we have to be able to create better boundaries, and that we need to listen to our body and pay attention to the signals that our body actually gives. Let us dive into this a little bit more. There's some types of no end in sight feelings, okay? There's this financial seasons of struggle. There might be a sickness, and there's this never ending bad news, right? There might be some weight loss or goals that, take a really long time, or you may be feeling stuck or in this dead end place in your life, or the anxiety and the depression creep in. That there's been so many times where I never thought my mind would not be a hot mess filled with anxiousness. And it's real. And we can stay stuck there, but we have to be able to work on our brain, on our mindset, our thoughts, so we can flip that script. And what it comes down to is overwhelm is this fear of not seeing the end in sight, right? It can come with this, gosh, it can show up in your life in so many different ways. It can come from the loaded email inbox or all your work projects, or maybe your parents' expectations or your family's expectations or the expectations of the world for you to keep on achieving. And I want you to know this: what you think on will multiply. So if you dwell on the bad news, and you'll feel the weight of it even more, guaranteed. But if you dwell on the hope within the bad, guys, you're going to be able to see pockets of peace and strength. We have the power in our brain to turn all that is going wrong, make it a game, to get curious, to find a way to see a fresh perspective. And here's a few mental techniques that might help. And we talked about this before in a prior episode. So you may remember the brain dump, where we unload all our feelings and we write everything down that you're thinking on paper, right? We peel back all the onion layers to find out what is triggering our feelings, to dig down deep enough to understand the initial thoughts that is driving the feeling that we have in the current moment. Basically, guys, we're journaling and we're just dumping all our thoughts. It's just this big old brain dump on a piece of paper and jotting everything down. There's just something truly, truly special about it. If you have not got a journal yet, guys, go do that today. Another technique would be like this: take that toxic thought and then reframe it. You hear me talk about this all the time. Reframe our thoughts, right? Write your toxic thought down. Write it in a way where a 6-year-old would understand it. For example, I'm feeling scared because the doctor may say this and I'm afraid of that, right? Where we put it into this first grader's language, and then we're going to respond to it. We don't just write it down, but we're going to flip it. We're going to reframe it, and then we're going to respond to it like as if we're the bestest friend ever who loves you. Or we're going to respond in a way how God would respond, how he would compassionately respond. And then we're going to reframe that thought with this loving perspective. Another thing that I know that will surely help, I know it helps me, is to find a community for support, right? Just like the Fit and Fierce gang or the Just Breathe Sisterhood or the Hike, Live, Explore crew. I mean, find a group, find a community that you find support that you need. And it's amazing the difference when you have people around you cheering you on. We're going to talk a little bit about self-affirming coaching phrases, where we can self-coach. We're going to get to that here in a minute. But another technique that I want to share with you, when you get so far ahead of yourself, when you start thinking into the future, we have call it the bounce method, right? It's like when the what if mentality takes over. When your brain goes down a trail of all the what ifs. What if this happens? What if that happens? Or what if I lose my job? And what if I don't have any money? What if I can't pay for the house? Or what if I can't get groceries? And then the kids will starve, and then I'll lose the house, and then my marriage is going to go to kaput. And it goes on and on and on. And so imagine the thought that goes out into the future, like with all the what ifs that we can't even actually control ever. But we go into that future mode. We need to be able to bring it back to the here and now, bounce it back into the present, the right now, and realize that the feeling is going to pass, that feelings pass, that we have the power to overcome the feeling in this very moment. Now, I'm not saying to dismiss your feelings, and I'm not saying brush it under the rug or push it down and not feel the feeling. But if we can bring it back to our thoughts, to reframe it, to flip the script, and know that the feelings that are coming from our thoughts and what we're thinking about in that moment. So if we can just pause to bring it back to the here and now, what matters is right now. How can I live this moment right now? What can I do today right now? What can I think right now that's going to move me in the direction of in a positive light? And I'm going to tell you, it cuts through the overwhelm. But we need to be able to bounce our what ifs and all the overwhelming thoughts back into the present to get our thoughts in line. So how do you have hope when there's no end in sight? We have to go back to a truth, right? That everything does end. We know this. We can't see everything. We don't get to understand everything on this side of heaven. So we got to be able to keep perspective, right? Overwhelm becomes suffocating and crushing, but when we realize we can weaken the overwhelm, that it can be broken down and holes can be poked in it, when we, how do we get through the hour today with good perspective, right? When we can focus on that, how can I fight for my joy and fight for hope right now? How can I remind myself that I've got this, that I have God on my side, that I'm not alone? What can I do right now in this moment when everything is going wrong? Guys, we have to be able to find adventure in looking for what is going right. You can do this by getting curious about how and where the overwhelm shows up in our life. Why does it show up? Guys, it's been a growth process for me for sure. I've been working on reframing overwhelm for the past several years in my own thoughts. And guys, I still have ways that it sneaks up on me. Overwhelm has been this go-to emotion for me with the work, the kids, the family, all the irons in the fire. And the overwhelm drives me to this overperformance mode. And then I get burnt out, and then I wonder why I'm exhausted and I just don't want to do anything, right? And I'm like, why am I going through all of this again? So I have learned, I have focused, I have been determined to recreate my thoughts, create new pathways, and not get so discouraged when I fall back into this overwhelming thought process. I just now know how to create a new thought pathway and flip it, but it does take intentional work and focus because it's so super easy to fall back into this default mode. Something that I've had to really do is watch for the language that my brain likes to indulge in. And I think the same thing goes for you guys. We're humans. We're going to have these thoughts. It's just whether or not we stay there, we stay stuck there, and then what we can do again to flip it. So we got to be watching out for, guys, it's just too much. It'll never end. I'll never be able to figure this out. I'll never be able to catch up. I'm so overwhelmed. I can't do this. I can't cope. Gosh, I should be able to handle this, but I just can't. Everyone else seems okay with the stress. Something must be wrong with me. I'm not good enough. I should be achieving more. I'm not organized enough. I just must be lazy, right? If I can't keep up, they'll know that I don't belong here. Why can't I do this? I can't seem to focus as well, and I keep forgetting things. I know I should be doing more, but I can't be bothered to do anything. What's the point? Nothing matters. Guys, that is indulgent language. Trying to get you, I tell you what, it is so sneaky, it is so good. It tries to get us to buy into this negativity. It's selling us on self-pity. Yes, it's too much for you. Yes, there's no end in sight. Guys, you're just all helpless. But I'm here to tell you that we don't have to buy it. You're going to have these thoughts. Again, that is human nature. But the choice becomes when you want to keep them and believe them and escort them along. So when you find yourself grabbing a hold of this language, here's a little reminder. Guys, you don't have to depend on your own strength. And I don't even know who says you have to do it all. I really don't. You don't. God did not create us to do it all alone and to carry it on with our own strength and perseverance, guys. That's when he kind of fills in. He fills in the gaps. He gives us that strength, right? This superhuman gal wearing the cape syndrome, guys, it's all fake. And then sometimes things are more than we can bear, right? And God allows that to invite us in to leaning on him. It's an invitation. He invites us in on his dependable strength, that we truly, truly need him. He offers, I tell you what, this unexplainable peace and strength that never runs dry. Guys, that should fire you up to know that you are never alone, that you don't have to do it on your own. And guys, yeah, life is going to throw things at us that is more than we can handle, but God's going to be there to get us through. But it's an invitation too, not just to lean on him, but it's also an invitation to reach out to others, to be in a community and connection, not to isolate, right? Culture tells us to isolate, to be machines, to be martyrs, to do it all and be it all. Guys, it's all false. It's a false ideation that keeps us stressed and stuck and feeling helpless. Today is the day that you're going to flip the script. No more overwhelm. So let's talk about the belief thoughts. Let's talk about self-talk and statements to actually neutralize this overwhelm. And here's the thing. The overwhelm is not the problem. It's the fear that's packaged in the overwhelm. Our battle isn't against overwhelm. It is against the fear. And I'm going to say it again. Our battle isn't against overwhelm. It is against fear. And I love this simplification because, like so much in life, it becomes a question about how you want to live in your heart. Do you want to live from a place of faith or from a place of fear? And it can lead you to two different places. Here are some faith-filled statements that I tell you what will neutralize the overwhelming thoughts that you may have. I want you guys to get fired up about this. Jot them down here, because here we go. I am more than capable of anything I want to do. I don't have to do it all. I don't have to look like I have it all together. I thrive when I focus on my priorities and on what matters. I'm exactly where I need to be. I will always have more work today, and I love the challenge of it, and that is exciting. I release it as pressure and invite the opportunity. I don't need to see the solution to believe that it's there. I have hope in the midst of my pain because I walk with peace. I choose to find the good in this. I don't absorb stress anymore. I'll notice this, but I'll allow it to pass. I have access to some of the most intelligent medical professionals. I will get answers, and I'm not alone in this. I am not in a rush, and this is not a race. I am doing better than I think I am. Guys, I hope this fires you up. It does for me. But before we wrap this up, there's something about getting outdoors, unplugging, and spending time in nature, and it is time to unleash your inner adventurer. Talk about crushing the overwhelm. With the Trailblazer Challenge, it just kicked off. Registration is now open. You can join the challenge and be a trailblazer. Just head on over to jillallencoaching.com. You don't want to miss it. And if you're wanting even more fire in your day, there's so much for you to do so. You can join our Just Breathe Facebook group, snag a copy of my new book, Set Fire, that just released. Join us in the adventure of a lifetime this August for the Backpacker. We are hiking the White Mountains, and it's going to be so super epic. Again, go to jillallencoaching.com for all updates, as we would love to connect with you. Positive connection is so game-changing. Come back next week. We are going to talk about raising strong-willed kids with integrity, and a special guest, a parenting and family coach, Wendy Snyder, will be joining us. I know that you're going to love it, as it will help you and your entire family up-level. Thanks so much for joining me today. I pray that I filled your heart with joy. If you could subscribe and share this episode link, let me know what you thought of it before hopping off here today. That would be incredible. If you felt encouraged or inspired, I know someone that can benefit. They are out there. People need to find their fierce, and I would love it if you would give some feedback and a review as well. Talk with you next time. Be fit, be fierce, be unstoppable. See ya.